The Chicago Bulls continued their preseason against the Denver Nuggets on Thursday night, and in that game, I thought we saw some good half-court sets. However, I do think that compared to the Milwaukee Bucks game, I do think that this game is a little bit worse. I might be being too harsh on this team in this video specifically, but I do want to address some of the negatives that I did see, specifically in the second quarter. I thought the pace slowed down a little bit too much, and I thought that there was some spacing issues that I do want to address, and hopefully the Bulls do address it before their next game and before the season starts. But I might be being too harsh in this video. You guys let me know. But I do want to kind of go over some good, go over some bad, and do like a full-out breakdown from this Nuggets game from the film. But before you get into it all, make sure to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the season starts. I really appreciate all the support from you guys. Let's go into this film right off the bat here. In this first play, I'm going to kind of build off of my previous video, okay? So in the previous video, the one that was showing the Bulls against the Bucks here, I actually was talking about the Bulls kind of having a base set that I think the Bulls are going to run a lot this season. So I don't know if it's like their base, overall offensive scheme, but I think it's something that we're going to see quite a lot. So in the base set that I talked about, we see a top of the key pick and roll. So you see Vooch come over, set a screen, typically for either Kobe White or someone else, right? And then while the pick and roll is happening, we actually see someone over here on the weak side set a screen for someone to come off of and go up to the corner or, up to the wing area. And in this case here, we actually see Zach LaVine's gonna be the one setting a screen for Patrick Williams to come off of. Usually those roles are reversed, but in this case, we just see how this one works out. And this is an example of the process over results thing I've been preaching throughout the preseason, because Vooch is going to actually miss this shot here, but you see here, Justin Holiday had to come on over and guard Vooch on this pick and roll, and because the spacing was pretty good, Justin Holiday kind of had to gamble on this, and even though Vooch misses this, I mean, I think he should honestly make this 8 out of 10 times. Justin Holiday is like a 6'6" guard. I will gladly take Vooch taking an 8-10 footer over Justin Holiday any day of the week. So even though this was a miss, I overall like this shot from Vooch, and I like the process overall from this Bulls team. To talk about though some variations in this little scheme that we're seeing a lot from the Bulls, let's show this play here. So instead of like in the previous clip, we saw Patrick Williams dive down here as Vooch set a screen, right? That was the start of the play. But in this play, we're gonna see actually Torrey Craig. He does not do that sort of action, and instead he comes over and he sets a screen for Kobe White that sets up another screen for Nikola Vucevic to come up and set a screen for Kobe White. So you're seeing the variations right now in this Bulls offense, right? And this is good to see and good to have, right? So we actually see the Bulls reverse the ball. DeRozan was open for a second here, but he's not open when he catches the ball. So he decides then to throw it down to Vooch. If you're new to this channel, I'm not the biggest fan of posting up Vooch. I think it slows the offense down. I think there's much better options, and I want this team to be focusing on making sure that they play up pace and taking more efficient shots. And Vucevic in the post, I don't really think does that. But you actually kind of see here in this action that the Bulls actually seem ready to go into the second action, even though like the first action didn't work out. So you actually see DeRozan's going to clear out here to the corner. You see Kobe come over this way, Craig go over this way. And you actually see the Bulls run another side pick and roll. They're going to see the ball come up here. And I talked about this in my previous video as well, that I think you're going to see a lot of, throughout this season, the Bulls having 3 shooters on the weak side. And you can see here that this is exactly that. Here's 1, here's 2, and once DeRozan clears it out fully, this would be 3, right? So you see here, side pick and roll for Kobe White with Vucevic. Good screen by Vooch. Kobe gets a nice drive to the basket and lays it up in it. So there's the variation that we like to see in the offense overall. These next 2 plays are also half-court plays that I also really like from this Bulls team. In this play, it's at the start of the third quarter here. We see this sort of action. So I don't know exactly if the Bulls are going to do something different here, but this is like a little flare screen by Pat for Zach to come off of, and actually Zach decides to go down here. And then keep an eye on Zach. You see here, he decides to come over and set basically a cross screen for DeRozan to go over this way. After Zach does that, you're going to see Vooch is going to come over here, and Vooch is going to set a pin down for Zach to come off of. So This kind of gives Patrick Williams a lot of options to kind of work with here, because let's say, you know, Zach isn't necessarily open on this, then DeRozan's going to be open pretty much like right here in this area on the elbow for a post up. And so you see here that Zach actually gets the ball. This is a good example of good process, but not the best results in my opinion. As you can see also here, 1, 2, 3 for the weak side action. And right here, I honestly wouldn't mind if Zach pulled this. It's just being truthful. Oh, sorry about the music. But I also think that if Zach's gonna drive here, then Vooch needs to be fully out at the 3-point line. I think that Vooch needs to be ready to shoot the 3 ball, and I don't think he's shot it enough in the preseason so far. This is a mid-range shot. I would like the Bulls to try to avoid this until the fourth quarter. You know, sometimes it is just the flow of the game. It is what it is, but ideally Vooch is out stepping for a 3-point shot, but I like the play overall. I think it's a pretty good solid play. And this play here is another play that I really like that I would like to also see in the fourth quarter, but it's overall a really nice play. So simple action that we've actually seen quite a lot here. So pick and roll early to then Vooch swinging around on the perimeter. And we actually see DeRozan come over and set up for a post up here. So this is really solid overall action that I think the Bulls could really start using in the fourth quarter, because I think this actually uses both DeRozan and LaVine to their strengths at the same time. So you see here, Patrick's going to throw it down into DeRozan, and as this is all happening, pay attention to what Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic are going to be doing for Zach. So you're going to see here, DeRozan's about to set up Aaron Gordon, and here comes the pin downs. Okay, Zach's coming off of these 2 pin down screens towards where DeRozan is in the post. This makes sure that DeRozan pretty much gets a 1-on-1 in the post. And I think this is a really solid play to be running in the fourth quarter. Or honestly, when you just really need a bucket. I just don't want the Bulls to be doing this sort of play constantly, right? Where it's kind of, you know, leading to a mid-range shot. Also, by the way, I like DeRozan more in the post over Vooch in the post. So I think that this is something that the Bulls could be really looking at in the fourth quarter. But again, just I would not be running this play 6 times, you know, in the middle of the second quarter, right? But overall, again, I really like the play. Now I want to get into some of the negatives, because I think that there are some spacing issues that I want to really address here that I think this Bulls team needs to start making sure that it doesn't become an issue moving forward. So it's not too big of a deal. I think the Bulls can address this pretty quickly, and we're not even talking about this moving forward. But I'm going to show you a few examples where I think spacing became an issue here. This is a pick and roll top of the key with Zach and Drummond. This is with the second unit, okay? So initially the spacing here I thought was fine. Like I honestly think that the spacing was pretty solid overall. You actually see the pick and roll kind of creates some open looks here, but Zach loses the ball, unfortunately, and then the Denver Nuggets decide to switch this. And so when Zach's recovering the ball here, you're gonna see in what, in my opinion, is a little bit bad spacing, okay? So Zach's about to go basically ISO, because I think this is a mismatch. And in my opinion, what needs to happen is Torrey Craig needs to get out of here, okay? Or maybe Caruso moves up to this way and Torrey Craig goes over to the corner, okay? But I think Torrey Craig needs to get out of this area. And I might be being too harsh on Torrey Craig and some of the other guys are going to point out in this, but I think this is the ideal situation, because if Zach's going to ISO, I want him to have the entire side of the floor. Because then when he does decide to release the ball, or give it up or throw it out to somebody, then you can make quick passes to the next guy. You see here, though, because Torrey Craig kind of stays there, that his man's able to get a hand on Zach's drive, and then, you know, it doesn't lead to a turnover, but ball goes out of bounds, right? I want to give Zach LaVine as much room to drive in that sort of scenario. So that's one example of I thought was pretty bad spacing. Here's another example, and unfortunately I'm going to be targeting Caruso in this one. So again, I think this is fine right here. Like, I think this is overall pretty decent spacing, but it's on the second look here. So as DeRozan has to corral this ball, as the Nuggets double teamed him, right here in this sort of situation, like right now, I think Caruso needs to clear out, okay? Because now DeRozan's not at the top of the key anymore. He's over on this. He's over in the on like the break of the 3-point line, right, or like on the wing area, and because Caruso is standing here with Jamal Murray guarding him on the strong side, DeRozan doesn't really have much space to go anywhere, right? If this leads to a turnover, unfortunately, and the Nuggets are out on the break. So just kind of pointing out a few issues that I saw in this game that I was like, hey, I think the Bulls need to be paying more attention to when, you know, LaVine and DeRozan have the ball. They're trying to get some space. Guys got to move in the right area, right? So I think that's important. Another example here where I think the spacing could just be better, and again, I might be nitpicking too hard here. I mean, you tell me in the comments, but let's keep this play in mind. Like, keep this screenshot of what you're seeing right now on the screen in your head right now. Okay, you see here it's a pick and roll between DeRozan and Vucevic, and I want you to pay attention to Torrey Craig. Okay, Torrey Craig stays here right now on this side of the floor here. He stays on the strong side, and again, keep this in your head. All right, so you can see on this play here, pick and roll between DeRozan and Vooch, and as this play happens, you see Vooch is trying to roll hard. Well, because KCP is like right here, he's not really open in a sense, right? And while this does lead to a mid-range shot made by DeMar DeRozan, I kind of mentioned it earlier, I would like to kind of avoid those types of shots as much as possible, and I think the spacing in this play could have also been better. So I said, keep that screenshot in your head, right? Well, let's look at this play, right? So does this look familiar to you guys at all, right? Pick and roll between DeRozan and Vucevic in this exact same spot, but look what the difference is. You don't have a guy standing on the strong side here. Instead, Patrick Williams, the 4-man, he's all the way over here, right? He's clearing out. So I think this is something that I think the Bulls could start thinking about, right? And just paying more attention to while this is all happening. I like this clear out, clear out the side of the floor for DeRozan and Vucevic to go to work with the pick and roll, because what this does is that someone on the weak side has to come over and help, right? It doesn't allow a strong side defender to come over and help and then recover quickly. Someone on the weak side has to come over and help, and then that forces rotation. So you just see the difference in just immediately, because there's no one on this side here. Vooch is pretty much open. Okay, now it's on DeRozan to pass the ball to Vooch, and he doesn't do that initially in this possession. But overall, I like this a lot more. Okay, you just see how open Vooch is, and the Vooch does eventually get it because Jamal Murray I think he got kind of injured on this play. But in general, though, you see the difference, right? And I think that's important to keep note of. And I think a really good example of this exact action really working to its best capabilities is this play right here. And I think this is the best example I have seen where the big three, or the three main guys on this squad, hey, doesn't this look familiar, right? And look, 1, 2, 3. I think this is the best sort of play that I have seen where the main three guys are working all together and playing to their best of abilities, right? Pick and roll between DeRozan and Vucevic on the same side of the floor. That side is cleared out, right? And you see here, look at what happens. Because that there's no one here to come over and help on this pick and roll, Reggie Jackson has to come off of Patrick Williams and make sure that Nikola Vucevic doesn't get a layup, okay? So this is a prime example of why I think this is better for the Bulls overall. And because Reggie Jackson has to come over so quickly, this leads then to Zach LaVine pretty much being wide open, good pass from Vucevic for a three-point shot. And even if, let's say, there was a guy on Zach, then you saw that Ayo was also open. And then if Ayo somehow got covered, then DeRozan was open, right? It's just overall better spacing. Here's another example of the side pick and roll. Clear out the one side, 3 shooters on the weak side, right? And you see here how much that just even like Patrick Williams cutting from this area here completely opened up DeMar DeRozan for a 3-point shot on this play. He misses it, but like I said, process over results. I like this play overall. Now, I'm not saying, just to be clear, I'm not saying that you should always be running the side pick and roll, clearing out one side, and having 3 shooters on the weak side at all times, okay? I'm not saying that should always be the case. Here's a good example, in my opinion, where I think that the pick and roll at the top, the key with shooters on both sides of the floor here, is a really good idea, okay? And the big reason why is because of this chin cut by Patrick Williams, him going down here, okay? Because Patrick Williams is down here, the spacing is a little bit different. Therefore, running a pick and roll at the top of the key here is actually a really good idea, okay? Unfortunately, Vooch does not get the ball in this case, but let's just freeze it here. If Vooch catches this ball, I mean, look at Aaron Gordon. He has to guard Vucevic and then also Patrick Williams on the baseline. If Vooch catches this ball, it's either a simple little floater over Aaron Gordon, or it's a pass over to Patrick Williams for a dunk on the baseline. This is the reason why, like, you have to be just paying attention to where your spacing is on the floor at all times, and this is a good example of it. Unfortunately, Vooch lost the ball and it goes out of bounds in this play. And then here's another example of it, like straight up just another example of how you use the top of the key pick and roll with better spacing. And same action. Kobe White goes down here. Here comes the pick at the top of the key for DeMar DeRozan, right? And let's just watch this play, right? You actually see here, because of all this action, and as Kobe White cleared through, Torrey Craig comes up here. You see then how open of a shot that many guys could have had. Vooch unfortunately misses this layup too, but I like him taking that shot, or I like him throwing it out to Torrey Craig right here. It doesn't matter to me, honestly. Either way, they're both good shots in my head, even though he misses this one. Process over results. And last but not least, I really like the top of the key pick and roll when it's like early in the shot clock, right? So you can see here, sorry if this is blocking me, this is 19 seconds on the shot clock, and when you can kind of see that the rest of the guys here, they're not fully set, and that also means the defense isn't fully set. This is a good time to run that like top of the key pick and roll action. And you see here in this play, look at how like out of source the Nuggets defense was, and it actually opens up a pretty wide open three-point shot for Patrick Williams, right? So just to make it clear before this video ends, I'm not saying that the Bulls should always be running the side pick and roll with, you know, one side cleared out and three shooters on the other side. I do think that that should definitely happen a good portion of the time, especially when DeRozan and Levine have pick and roll options. But there are definitely moments when you're going to see, you know, having both, you know, shooters on both sides of the floor and in both corners when that's the ideal scenario. But people just have to be, in my opinion, a little bit more aware of their spacing. So I might be being a little bit too hard on this Bulls team, but I think that even the little things matter when it comes to all this sort of stuff. But that's all I have for you guys in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Bulls play again on Sunday night. I'll see y'all in the next one.